When Matt Hardy left Impact for WWE's greener pastures in 2017, the fanbase at large eagerly awaited the return of the broken universe that had served him so magnificently. That just sounded Jamaican. Enter Bray Wyatt. The misused wreckage of WWE's last flirtation with the bizarre, Wyatt was positioned as the first foe of newly christened Woken Matt, and the Eater of Worlds again turned chicken salad to chicken. Hardy's greatest creation was rapidly bastardized, and it was no laughing matter, despite the company's reliance on virtually that alone from the ordinarily verbose broken brother. This was far from the first time a beloved idea, concept, or persona has been trashed by the company theoretically best suited to market it. I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture, and these are 10 awesome wrestling gimmicks WWE didn't know how to handle. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to stay notified. Ding, ding, done. Number 10. Gail Kim. Gail Kim's reputation as the best women's wrestler in North America whilst leading TNA's Revolutionary Knockouts division was criminally cast aside when she made her 2009 WWE return. Her re-debut, a run-in failing to position herself as either a face or a heel, solid start, came 2 weeks before taking part in the demeaning Miss WrestleMania Battle Royal at the 25th installment of the show. And didn't that end well? More misery followed, with Kim rarely able to get a foothold in a useless Divas division before a romantic pairing with Daniel Bryan because boobs or something. After several more months of frustration, Kim allowed her contract to expire midway through 2011 for an immediate return to TNA. Number 9. Lex Luger. With charisma in high supply and Vince McMahon's wet dream physique, Lex Luger's WWE failure was utterly baffling. His tenure was never destined to be as smooth as in WCW after a clunky first few months representing McMahon's failed World Bodybuilding Federation. Jesus. But their attempt at repackaging the total package was a mess, which in turn was abruptly dropped when Luger was tasked with being the second coming of Hulk Hogan. Launched alongside an orgasmic Bobby Heenan, Luger was revealed as the narcissist at 93's Royal Rumble, in front of a giant mirror that would travel around with him due to his desperate need to look at his own body. The direct opposite of me, in fact. The persona wasn't remotely connecting when Luger suddenly donned red, white and blue trunks to become America's great defender against Yokozuna. Still though, at least we got the Lex Express. Number 8. Diamond Dallas Page. Before The Rock was a people's champion, before Steve Austin didn't trust anybody, and before Seth Rollins threatened to burn it down! God, that hurts. Dallas Page was a fan-serving, diamond-cutting lone wolf, bringing down the NWO all by himself. DDP was a rare WCW success story and barely suffered a loss of sheen during the company's woeful final years. Hi, David Arquette. F*** you, Vince Russo. All summer, WWE fans had been awaiting WCW superstars to reappear in some fashion following the March buyout. But Page's unmasking as a creepy stalker of Undertaker's wife was, unsurprisingly, a massive disconnect from the master of the Diamond Cutter. Just why? Number 7. Raven. Without the exceptional storytelling he was furnished with from Paul Heyman or the promo time afforded to him in WCW, Raven was destined to fail in WWE. Initially appearing as the token ECW friend of Taz upon debuting, Raven was parlayed into the hardcore division, where he dragged the match quality up tenfold and even gave the league a Match of the Year candidate thanks to an absorbing clash with Rhino at 2001's Backlash pay-per-view. Despite this, higher-ups just wouldn't budge on their disinterest in the gimmick, and he'd be another entry in the big book of blokes lost in the shuffle during the year's bungled invasion angle. Number 6. Tyler Breeze. Tyler Breeze's woeful presentation on the WWE main roster was unfortunate proof that the lauded developmental system driven by Chairman-elect Triple H is maybe not the magic wand of superstardom it always appears to be. His ascension was the headline event on WWE Network's enjoyable Breaking Ground project, as Breeze's overdue elevation served as a reminder for the Full Sail crew to keep working away at achieving their dreams. The fairy tale ended there, with an emphatic, fur-lined thud. Breeze even lost his debut match, falling to Dean Ambrose and shortly after embarking on an unacknowledged losing streak, laying down for just about anybody. Even bloody R-Truth beat him. All I can say is, thank God for the fashion police. Number 5. Taz. Although he was at first allowed to keep his human suplex machine persona in an electric debut at 2000's Royal Rumble, the presentation of Taz was almost immediately scaled back and his killer instinct was swiftly diluted. His shocking ECW title win in April 2000 should have relit the fire, but defeat to Triple H on SmackDown whilst holding the belt damaged virtually everybody but the game. Where have I heard that before? A heel turn kept him briefly relevant, with 2 pay-per-view matches against Jerry Lawler marking a switch to an obnoxious comedic version of his character, but persistent bullying from Steve Austin in 2001 murdered the character stone dead. Number 4. VADER. VADER's muddled WWE tenure was the second part of a disappointing decline for one of the most threatening heels of the early 90s. Asserting physical will over every opponent in WCW, VADER's wrath was impenetrable until he was, surprise, surprise, forced to succumb to Hulk Hogan's hackneyed offense during the Hulkster's saccharine 1995 babyface dominance of the organization. Established as a threat well enough in his first 6 months in WWE, a SummerSlam defeat to Shawn Michaels, who was at peak backstage bellend, was a mammoth step backwards, and a defeat against Psycho Sid 2 months later effectively neutered him as a main event threat. VADER became another mystifying case of a talented big man who just couldn't gain sufficient traction in the traditional land of the giants. Number 3. The NWO. Ostensibly a poison injected by an more insane than usual Vince McMahon into his own product, Hogan, Hall and Nash opened the No Way Out pay-per-view by trying to present themselves as misunderstood, immediately siphoning any logic out of the angle. The Hulk Hogan babyface turn was an inevitability also, with mammoth nostalgia reactions for the Hulkster everywhere the faction went in the run-up to his monster match at WrestleMania 18. It's like trying to get people to boo a puppy. With version 1 of the lethal group rendered moot, further incarnations mirrored WCW's own failings with the gimmick. Hey, I even did a video about how Shawn Michaels joining did nothing. Watch it here. Please, they've got my family. Anyway, obnoxiously putting a bullet in the entire storyline after less than 6 months, McMahon himself disbanded the group during a Raw opening monologue, and the NWO was finally laid to rest. Or so we thought. Number 2. Sting. Virtually any incarnation of Sting would have made a suitable addition to the WWE roster when Steve Borden finally agreed to work for Vince McMahon. But a vigilante-tasting defeat to Triple H as WCW's last defender was a ludicrous mishandling of a once-in-a-generation opportunity. It soon became clear during his anticipated WrestleMania 31 match that WWE's insecurities over WCW's brief reign of dominance in the 90s had still somehow not been dealt with, and the pairing was designed to be an unwanted afterword on the Monday Night Wars. Just let it go, Vince! For God's sake, you're like an obsessed ex! It'll never be known if the company had grander plans for the Icon following this, as injury in his next high-profile match against Seth Rollins forced his retirement the following year. Maybe hindsight will prove that to be a lucky escape. Number 1. Goldberg. The enormously successful reintroduction of Bill Goldberg thankfully showed that the company can learn from its mistakes after all. Astonishing most of all is that WWE facilitated all of this, having botched things worse than a Brock Lesnar shooting star press, don't tell him I said that, with Big Bill in his original 2003-4 run with the organisation. Drawn out singles pay-per-view matches with The Rock, Chris Jericho and Triple H were completely wrong for his character, as his lack of energy and creativity in a back and forth setting were horribly exposed despite his eventual victory. Just let him spear and jackhammer everyone. How f***ing difficult is it? Bailing immediately after his one-year contract ended, probably only Goldberg himself is more surprised at the success of his sophomore stint.
Why would you look at that? You got all the way to the end of the video and your mother said you'd amount to nothing. What are the chances? While you're here, why not watch one of our other many, possibly quite good channels, or watch another video which will be largely in the same vein as the quality content you've just endured. Go on then.